So this is one of the neatest spots I think on the property, and this is actually right on our property line. But this used to be a very narrow road coming through for gas line access. What? Huh. All right, so there's a lot of discussion that we've had about our 100 acres here in southern West Virginia. People kind of talk about, oh, if you had 100 acres, you could do everything you ever wanted. And we are blessed to have this land, but we wanted to take this opportunity to show you all exactly what our 100 acres looks like, including some of the issues we have with topography and elevation change. So, as you can see, I got my crew coming. We're going to take a hike. It's a beautiful day today. The sun is out. At least it's out on that side of the valley. And it's right around freezing, so not too bad. And we're going to take a hike and kind of show you all some of the features and key elements of our 100 acres here in West Virginia. Okay, so starting here at the barn, which everyone knows that watches the channel, the barn and the sawmill. If I look at my elevation app, we're about 811 feet above sea level here down in the valley. This is the lowest part of the property. So we're going to try to hit the south ridge and see what we get. Now at elevation, those apps are plus or minus 20 some feet, 40 feet, just depends. So here's something we get this time of year in West Virginia, and obviously you get it elsewhere, but it just fascinated me as a kid to see these icicles form. They form on these rock formations, these exposed rock, because as you can see, groundwater comes down through the dirt, hits the rock, and of course it's a certain temperature, it's above freezing because it's being warmed by the ground, but then when it comes to this exposed face, then it freezes and forms these awesome icicles. And yeah, some of these get pretty substantial in size. I remember as a kid always running through the woods trying to find the biggest icicle off one of the largest formations. Okay, so now we're at the almost to the top of our south ridge. That's the top. That's actually our property corner. So back this way is our easternmost pig pasture. And then the house is way down there. So we're 933 feet in elevation now. All right, so the top eastern corner, 990 feet in elevation. Top of the ridge of this point, and you can see there's actually a higher point there. That's part of our property. This way's west. House will be down there. I'll show on the map. You can see there's some pretty substantial elevation change, even over to our neighbor's property. So we've walked, it's tough to determine distance here. If I had my rifle, I could obviously easily shoot the windows out of my truck at the house, just to, as an illustration of distance. Now granted, all the tree cover would keep me from doing so. But that's how far away. We're not that far away from the house, linear, but elevation-wise, we've walked quite a bit. Yeah, that's the old road bed. We just got a lot of trees down over it. All those ash trees have fallen. So this road I have not used in years, as you can tell. And with the emerald ash borer killing everything, a lot of these ash trees came down. But you can see, since I haven't been on here, you even got things like this sycamore tree growing right in the middle of the road. This road dead ends almost, well, dead ends technically, but it's just a couple feet over to another logging road that I have. Our primary access road is down here on this next bench. So for those of you that comment and say I cut down too many trees, I just want to show you everything that the camera hits. The ridge over there with light on it, that's all us. And I don't think in 15 lifetimes I could cut down enough trees to really punch a big hole in this canopy, doing it by hand. So this area, decades ago, before I owned it, had a massive slip. You can kind of see out where Kelly's walking, there was a bench that came along and should have been the same elevation all the way across, but you can see where they are there in the sunk down spot, and that part really broke free. So that had already slipped decades before we bought the place, because there's a lot of decent growth back on it. Yeah, you want to stay on that bench. Yeah, it gets a little swampy there. You want to, yeah, go straight with timber. Straight ahead. So Kelly's trying to train Timber to his new harness in case we go out in civilization and have to look like respectable people with a dog. Then she's trying to get him used to that. Normally we obviously just let him run crazy with us. This skyline may give a pretty good example of the elevation change we have. So this is the top of the ridge where our property line ends. And you can see where the boys and Kelly are walking, that slope coming down. It's substantially steep. You know, there's nothing you're gonna have a hard time walking up that, much less using any type of equipment. So what's neat about this south ridge side of the property, this is the side that gets the least sun. Gets hardly any sun in the wintertime, of course. But the topography is so steep here that we have exposed rock, breakdown rock, all that, and a wide variety of hardwoods. Got a lot of sugar maple in here. We've got various chestnut oak. Like here's a really nice chestnut oak right here. Some poplar coming in. Here's a poplar there. Various oaks and maples. A lot of sugar maple on this side, which is odd, being north facing, to find that much sugar maple. These large boulders that have broken away make for some nice features. Nice white oak here in front of me. So 20 years ago, we had this property, the entire land, all 100 acres, selectively timbered. And that's where we regulated what they could come in and collect. So 20 years later, this is what the only evidence you see of timbering are these old rotted stumps. So you can see just how much the canopy is repaired. There's no ground cover. There's no grasses growing here because it's just, in the summertime, of course, it's so grown over that the canopy, the sunlight can't penetrate the canopy. In that timbering process, it allowed me to have these nice roads that I try to maintain. Most of them I keep open. This one, however, terminates up here where Kelly and the boys are, simply because of our huge slip, and we'll show you that. So the only real hole we have in the canopy on the south ridge is from our large slip that happened 10 or 12 years ago. I really don't remember. But you can see that the bench used to come all the way out to here, where our road is, where everybody's standing. But one day it just decided to take off. So it took trees and everything with it. But you can see a lot of the growth is coming back, a lot of sycamore, because they just love all this moisture. There is a ton of water that comes out of the mountain right here. And so it took the clay soil with it, and that kind of fractured my road. I could get in here and maybe dress that up, but I really don't want to play around with it too much. I'd have to take out a lot of sugar maples to get it, and I can get up to here from another spot on my road. Elevation is 1,024. I have to show you all this for the people that are woodworking. Appreciate this cherry tree. I don't know if you can see all the different undulations in the trunk of that tree, but that's black cherry. And if that tree was on the mill and we produced boards out of that, this would just have some incredible curled figure in it. Be some gorgeous boards. But we may let him get a little bigger. Maybe 10 years later we'll come back and revisit. Not big enough diameter to really get some good boards, but about 10 years it'll be perfect. So we've come to the saddle, what I consider the halfway point of the property. You can see this little low gap right here. That's the halfway point back in our valley. The house is to the right. But I'm standing on a gas line right away. There's a large transmission line, interstate transmission line buried here that comes across the back part of our property. And goes, so that's our property there, that ridge line as well. So it goes down and back up. And then the edge of our property is there at my neighbor Chuck's gate. You can see at the top. So do you realize where you are now, Kel?
I got it. I'm on it.
You're on it?
From the beginning.
From the beginning. Okay. So you weren't lost at any point?
No.
You knew exactly where we were the entire time?
Not really.
Ain't nothing like those West Virginia mountains. Look at that view. Party. So this is a really neat spot on the property. This was a very narrow road at one point. It was gas well access. There's a well actually here on my neighbor's place that the gas company had to have access to. When it was time to clean the well and actually go deeper because of Marcellus shale, they came in and wanted to drill this well deeper. They needed to bring all their equipment in. Well, this is a very narrow road, and they have to do a 180-degree turn here. So with the earth embankment and the trees, they had to get my permission to do any surface work here. And I said, sure, you take it out, open it up a little bit. What's funny though is you can see this used to be the gate to the gas well road. And this gate is still here, but you can't close it. It used to be that you'd close it this way and close off this road. And what's hilarious is this gate now is kind of wedged between these two white oaks. You can't even get it closed. It still has a chain and a lock hanging off of it, but there's no way the gate could swing back to its original spot because this white oak that's about 13 inches in diameter has grown up and blocked it. Top of the world, Ma. Okay, this is the highest point and the point furthest back on our property access. So the house would be this way, and you can see the skyline all the way around. Watch the sun. Here we go. Just beautiful views up on this point. This time of year, of course. In the summertime, you can't see out of it. But we're at 1,121 feet. And this is the furthest back you can get on our property. So access to this end of the property, I've had people ask, hey, why don't you sell me a couple acres on the back side of your land? And that way we won't be close to you and won't bother you. Well, yeah, that would be further back, but you would have to make a driveway that would be miles and miles and miles long to get back here. Unless you drove a four-wheeler, because there's the gas road. I don't know if you can see Kelly down there. Wave, Kelly! So that's the gas access road that they come in with four-wheel drives, just a dirt road. But there's no access back here. No power, no water, no utilities. The closest highway or county road that's passable is 2 ridges that way, behind Camlin's shoulder. So while it is nice and isolated, it would be really tough unless you did something totally off-grid, and even up here you'd have to transport your own water. So here's the opposite end of the natural gas transmission right away. We were obviously just over there, that gap. What I said was my neighbor Chuck's gate is right in that little peak you see, little cut in the tree line. So we've come around. So the majority of our property is all into this bowl, and then it goes and turns around to the house. So the house will be around that turn quite a ways. So this reminds me, if you haven't signed up for our email newsletter, do so soon, because we're going to do the drawing for those really neat little fuel bottles we're going to give away that we got from Big Tool Rack. And I got this hat for Kelly, but she won't wear it for some reason. I can't figure out why. You can find information down in the video description on how to do so. We'll be doing that drawing sometime in January. We've got 2 of those bottles to give away. All right, so now we're making our descent. We're on the north ridge, kind of the midway point. The house is directly ahead of the family there, all the way down the valley. Back here, I'll step around the street, let the sun get you, but right over top of the sun was that highest point we were at. This is all us in this valley. The elevation here is about 1084. So you can see if I walk to the edge here, way down there is the barn and the workshop and all those things. And again, that's our property on that ridge line there. So you can tell even though we have 100 acres of beautiful Appalachian hardwood forest that we just enjoy immensely spending time in, it provides a bit of a challenge for any type of homesteading agriculture. So when it comes to doing anything farm related, it's definitely a challenge, but we love it. We'll accept the challenge and enjoy the benefits of this secluded rural property here in southern West Virginia. And clearly nobody waits for the videographer. You can tell it's getting close to dinner time because they've left me on the mountain.